So, hello everyone, my name is Becky with Scott Leroy Marketing, and today we are going to be doing our database overview. So, we're going to be going over contacts and command, the different things you can do in the contacts applet, as well as importing and exporting contacts and things like that. If you do have any questions as we go through, please drop them in the chat, and I will do my best to get those answered in real time. If I don't get them answered in real time, either for the sake of timing for the class or it's a more in-depth question, I'll definitely save some time at the very end of class to make sure I get all of those questions answered. So if you ask a question in the chat and I don't get to it immediately, don't worry, I will definitely be saving time at the end to make sure I get those answered. So um, if you are watching this back on recording, you can always email us with any questions at support@scottleroymarketing.com. I'm going to go ahead and drop that link or that email address in the chat for everyone as well. Give me just a second. There we go. This class recording is going to be available on our YouTube channel within 24 hours. I just dropped that on um, in our chat here as well. When you are on our YouTube channel, I do strongly always recommend that you check out the videos tab when you are looking for videos. You can either scroll down and find these top, I believe it's 12 videos right here. Those are going to be the most recent 12, or you can just flip to the videos tab right here, and then you'll be able to see all of them, and they're going to be in reverse chronological order. So you'll see our most recent videos up at the very top. We do always recommend that just because things are always changing with Command and the services that we offer here at Scott Leroy Marketing. So we just want to make sure you have the most up-to-date information because it can be a little confusing if you don't have that up-to-date information. So and your screen looks a little different than mine. So feel free to check that out on here. Zoom out a little bit. But yeah, so our YouTube channel, today's class recording is going to be up in the top. I've been here in about 24 hours. We generally shoot for end of business day, but definitely within 24 hours. All right. So we are going to go ahead and jump in. We're going to start in command, which is agent.kw.com. We're already logged in here into our demo account. Um, so you'll want to log in with your KW logins. Then we're going to navigate over to the contacts applet. Give it a second to load. So the contacts applet, I'll give you a quick overview of what we're seeing here. And I'm actually going to go more in depth with that at the end of class. So you'll see your contacts and you'll see all these different columns, and they are adjustable. So you can edit them and choose which columns show in what order. You can drag and drop them around. Um, you can search for your contacts. Basically, this is just going to be your entire database. You can have as many contacts in here as you'd like. So be adding your contacts here. It's great for sending out, emails through command, whether you have a smart plan or an opportunity, or sorry, I meant a campaign, and linking them to opportunities so that you can make sure you get those submitted for compliance to your market center. So you really want to have your database in here. It's just going to be really helpful for you in the long run. So first we want to look at importing contacts. There's a couple different ways to get your contacts into command. And one of them is going to be this import contacts button right here. So importing contacts can be a little complicated sometimes. I think it seems more complicated than it is a lot of the time, because it can be pretty finicky a little bit of the time. But yeah, so generally we recommend downloading this template, and then you can add your contacts to that template, or you can upload your own custom template. So I'm going to show you how to do both of those. The main difference here is if you use the command template, it's going to be more legwork up front, but it's actually going to be more accurate, more speedy. In the long run, it'll make your life a lot easier if you do have it matching that template. If you use a custom template, you're going to have to sit there and do some column mapping, and it's not necessarily as accurate because you could import the wrong thing to the wrong field or things like that. So we do always recommend following this template right here. You can just click download template and then reformat your contacts to match it. I'm going to go ahead and click that. You'll be able to see it pops up in my downloads over here. But yeah, so you want to take a look at this. I will say if your market center is working with us, then we do offer this to you. We can go in and we can reformat your contacts. We can even import them for you if you'd like. You can email us with that spreadsheet and we can get that reformatted and imported for you to save you some time and effort there. So you can be doing some other things. Um, so yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and jump into it. First, I'm gonna look at our template with the command template file. I actually have it open on over here in a new tab, just because I'm doing it through Google Docs. You can do it through Excel or whatever spreadsheet platform your computer is using or you like to use on your computer. I've just found that this one works a little more accurately on my computer specifically, but a lot of people don't have problems with using Excel and things like that. So I'm just going to go through here, make these edits, that way I can import it properly. But you're going to see all of these. So this is, again, the command file, the command template, and you'll see these headers right here. Very important thing is you do not want to edit or mess with these headers at all. They do need to stay exactly as they are without making any changes to it, just because it will mess with the import if you do make any changes to it. So don't make any changes to that header right there, the top two rows, and you'll be able to import it from there. When you are importing, the only required field is a first name. So if you have a first name but no last name, you can enter it in here. And then you don't have to enter in the last name. If you only have a last name, we strongly recommend that you're going to have something in the first name field. So what we like to do is we like to maybe use a filler word like neighbor, and then we can enter in their last name, and then we'll be able to import it from there. But again, you do have to have a first name in that field. We're going to make our way through this so you can add in all of these additional things like middle name, prefix, suffix, full legal name, about, birthdays, and home anniversaries. One thing I do want to point out with these is you do not have to format it in a specific number format for it to work. You can enter in those dates with slashes or dashes. It will recognize it, so you don't have to make sure they all match up there. Same with phone numbers. If it's in a phone number format there, it just has to be 10 characters long or 11 if you have like the +1 at the beginning of it. So if the number begins with a 1, you can add that in there as well and have it be 11 digits. However, it needs to be 10 or 11. It doesn't have to be formatted. It can be just a straight number like this. It can have dashes, it can have the parentheses and dashes. However you typically format your numbers, just go with it. It can even have dots instead of dashes. It's going to recognize it for you and import just fine. So you don't have to worry about that. When you are entering in those phone numbers, another important thing to pay attention to is one of them has to be marked as primary. So you'll see this field right here is primary with a question mark, and it'll tell you to mark Y. So if it is the primary phone number, you're going to want to put a Y in that column just to make sure it will import as the primary phone number. Again, if you have phone numbers in here, one of them has to be marked as primary. Moving through. Emails. So you can, I'll go back over here for a second. But you can see that there's options for a lot of phone numbers. So you can enter 1, 2, 3, 4 different phone numbers. So if you have multiple phone numbers for someone, you can enter them in here. Also, only one of them can be marked as primary. So one of them has to be marked primary, but only one. So I can't say the cell phone and the home phone are primary. I have to pick one of them. They will still import, just not as the primary phone number. Alrighty, so then you have our personal email. Same thing, we have to mark one of them as primary, and only one of them can be marked as primary. Moving through. And our address line right here. So if we enter an address here, trying to think of the zip code here. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I'll just enter a fake zip code here. So one thing you do want to pay attention to is if it begins with a 0, you want to make sure it is formatted so it doesn't drop that 0 at the beginning of it. I'm trying to remember how you do this in let's forget this one. But you just want to make sure everyone's going to be different. You just want to make sure it has all of the numbers in there. Let me actually see if I can cover it real quick. Put an apostrophe in the front. I'm not saying put an apostrophe in the front. Might work. That one put it. I tried. That wasn't an apostrophe. That was a comma. I'm sorry. Don't mind me. Um, there we go. Thank you for that, Patrick. I appreciate that information. So if you're doing it, especially in Google Sheets, I'm not sure if it's the same for all of the platforms. But if you put an apostrophe in it, it's going to format it for you so that it looks like that. Then we'll put our country and our label. If you need to enter those in. If you need it for a label, mailing label, so you'll want to enter is it a home, let's see, home, work, rental, vacation, or other for the address. And then you'll want to select if it's the mailing address or not. And that one would be Y. So we'll say this one is home. We'll say yes, it's the mailing label. And then we can enter other addresses in here if we want. There's multiple slots in here as well. And then we get over here to tags. So our tags are going to import how we enter them in here. They're going to be separated with commas. So each of these is going to import as a separate tag. They're not all going to be merged together since we have it separated by commas. And that's actually what CSV stands for. It does need to be imported as a CSV file. I meant to say that earlier. But CSV is comma separated values. And that's really what we're doing here is we're separating those values with commas so that it imports as separate items there. So we went ahead and entered those in there. Move over any notes. The contact source, you can enter it in there. Facebook links, so Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram. You can have all the things there. So once we have all of those, and that's the end of that, we'll go over here. And since I'm doing this in Google, I would want to save it as a CSV file. So I'm just going to click File, then I'm going to click Download, and I'm going to choose comma separated values or .csv, and then we'll see it download right there. And then we can grab it either from our file or from our downloads when we go to import it. I'm going to go ahead and show you if you're doing a custom template here. So if you do have a custom template, you want to have one, the first row needs to be your headers. So on the command template, it has 2 rows as the headers, but if you're doing a custom header, it needs to be only 1 row, but that first row needs to be a header for sure. So you can't just start entering in their names through here, or it's gonna fail to recognize it and it's not gonna import for you. So you have to have something in that first row as your header. And then you can go through and you can enter what you need here. So you can go fill this out. Again, first name is required. And then you can enter a number here. And then we can save this one as well. Let's see here, download. We'll say CSV here as well. So I'm going to go back over to command. And the first one I want to look at is importing my command import so that I can show you what that looks like when you do it. So you're going to go over here. You can either click here to browse your computer to look through your files, or you can drag and drop if you have the file folder. I can actually do it from my downloads here since I just did this. I'm going to drag and drop it there. And you'll see it tells me the upload is complete, tells us how big the file is, as well as the name of the file. Fun fact, every import needs to have a different title in there, even if it's just different by, like you have a 1 at the end of it or something. Because if you try to import the same file, it's going to say you already have an import file with that name. So you just want to make sure your name is different, but you can do that. You can replace the file if you need to. And we're going to click continue here. And we'll see here that this is what our contacts are going to look like when they are imported to command. So we see that all of these fields pulled over perfectly from our CSV file we had since we had it in the command template. So we see all of these pulled over in the right fields, things like that. We can check through all of these contacts. So for example, this one just had the first name and nothing else, and it still is going to import for us. And then our one where we put neighbor at the beginning, you'll see the same thing there. We didn't fill out any of the information. So you're able to go through and make sure all of them are mapped correctly. And then you'll just say finalize import. It's going to tell you your contacts are being imported. Depending on the size of the file, it may take a bit. You'll receive a notification when the process is complete. We click return. You're going to see that right there. It'll tell you it's importing. It may be slow. You can refresh that button, or up here would work too. You'll see we now have a notification saying that it failed. So if we want to, we can go over here. I know why it failed over here, but I'll show you the log as well. So if we go here, I'm gonna open this one. We'll just go this way. There we go. So this is my failed import log, and we can see only one of the contacts failed to import of all of those. One of them failed. And if we go all the way over to the far right, it's going to tell us the phone number has to be a valid number. Command's pretty smart about this, so it won't let you enter in a fake number for a contact. A lot of times if a contact has failed, or a contact has failed to import, it's going to be something along the lines of duplicate primary emails, duplicate primary phone numbers, or something along those lines. Generally, the duplicate contacts are what we see the most. So if you have that contact existing in your database already, it's going to go ahead and fail that contact to import. It's not going to merge the details there. And that goes based off of the email, the primary email, and the primary phone number. So anyway, if you are importing this, or you wanted to update this and then re-import these contacts in here if you fixed what the problem was, you do want to note that actually this header, while it looks the same as the command import file, for some reason it's actually slightly different. So you would need to probably reformat that to match the same template over there, or you can just move these over to your template. But for some reason, it doesn't show you the failed log as the same format. Same with exporting contacts for some reason. Not exactly sure why command does that. But that is one of its little quirks. But we're going to go back over here, and we'll go back to our contacts so we can see some of them imported. Let's see here. Not even, there we go. This one imported right there. But you can see when they were imported. We currently have it filtered, so it's only showing the contacts that imported with that demo. Another thing I did want to point out that I forgot to point out when I was going through the template is this tag right here, the import with the date. We always recommend putting the date of your import on your CSV file. So we can go over here to our tags right here, and you'll see I put it on both of these contacts right here. That way, if something were to go wrong in the import, fairly rare, but if it did go wrong, you'd be able to go find the contacts that were imported on that specific day, so that you can separate them and figure out what the problem was and troubleshoot from there. So when we are importing, we will always put the import date tag on there. You can add as many tags as you'd like to contacts, so it's not going to be, it's not going to limit you from adding other tags or anything like that. It's just going to make your life a little easier if something does go wrong, you notice something was off about the import. That way you're not sitting there trying to figure out which contacts were imported or not. So just something I wanted to point out there. So now I'm going to show you how to import our custom template over here that we had right here. I went ahead and downloaded it. We're going to go ahead and go right here. We'll drag and drop that one. And you'll see the upload is complete. Same thing there. And then we're going to say continue. And now you're going to see this one looks a little different. So this one is because I did not use the command template on this one. So it's going to make me go through and do all of the column mapping for these. Since I only added 4 columns, it's not going to be a ton of work for me right now. But if you had multiple columns or something like that, it could be a pain. So you can see show skipped columns if you'd like, or turn it off. No big deal there. But you're going to go through and you're going to select the column right here. So you want to say match those. We'll go first name, last name. And then as you scroll down, we can search for it. You're going to see primary phone number, secondary phone, primary phone type. You have a bunch of different options in here. So we're going to go through, we'll do the same thing for our email. And so then we have our columns mapped to each other, so it'll pull it in. So this one can be a little complicated. Sometimes, it's easy to select the wrong field through here on accident or accidentally skip it or something like that, which is why we do especially recommend using the KW templates, just because it's more accurate, and that way everything's in the right columns and it makes your life easier when you actually get to importing. Especially if you have like thousands of contacts you're importing and you can't go through and check that all of them wound up in the right fields. So you can see right there, you can see these through here. And we'll go ahead and we'll say finalize import, saying your contacts are being imported. We'll say return to contacts. Same process here. We can refresh our page. We get this notification up here, and it tells us whether the import failed or was successful. Again, we can download that log and see what happened, and we can I'll show you another way where you can find those logs. So that's one way to add contacts to your database, is by importing them. Another way is just creating individual contacts, which we can do again with this button in the top right corner, create contact. We'll go through and we'll fill out the information. Not necessarily going to walk you through every single field. We do have a tip video that covers how to do that and goes through all of the fields. But I do want to point out that anything with an asterisk, it's a required field, which again is actually just going to be the name field. You do have to have a first name in here. I'll go ahead and start filling this out. We can add a relationship right here. So if we want, we can say, we'll select the contact. We can say what the relationship is there. We'll go there. And then we can go through and we can fill out primary email. And again, we can choose if it's personal, work, or other. Primary phone number, things like that. Lead source, and the lead source you can select through here. So when it's a contact added to your database, so before you've had any contact with them, it would be considered a lead. And then once you've actually started talking to them, it would be more considered a contact. So you can make those changes. You can mark it as a lead or as a contact, either way. And then tags. Again, we can select as many as we want, or we can create a new tag right here. So we'll say class demo. You can see that, and we can go through and we can add more contacts in here. So we'll say that. And we can go through and we can add additional contact information. Oh, I do want to show you creating a new tag as well. We can say create as new, and then it'll let us choose the color for the tag. We'll go a pretty little yellow here. And we'll create that tag, and then it will create a new tag for us. Additional contact information, we can add, additional emails, phone numbers, text, phone numbers. You can add their preferred method of contact through here. And then their primary address right here. You can go through and do all of that. Under About, you have the option to add their legal name, description, birthday, home anniversary, and relationship. So we can add multiple relationships to our contacts. It is going to hyperlink the contacts together so that you can navigate from one to the other from each of the contacts. But yeah, so you can add additional relationships down here, company name, and then custom fields. So custom fields, we're able to create a custom option. So we can select or create one. So we have one right here already created. That's favorite candy. We can add a custom field. We can create one. So we'll say that. We'll say create as new. And then we have the option to go through and select the custom field type. So we have a bunch of options in here. I do love custom fields. They're great, especially if you are maybe you're doing like a pie giveaway and we want to have it be their favorite type of pie. Or maybe it's a closing gift and you want to remember some of the little details about your client so that you're able to give a better personalized gift at closing. Whatever you want to use this field for, it's available for you to create those fields. So we'll just say create custom field, favorite candy, sour gummy worms, we'll say, favorite pie. Um, okay, that's the first one I can think of. But we can go through and we can create additional fields as we want, and then we can just say create. And it's immediately going to take us to the contact card. So when we are in our contact card, on the left-hand side, you are going to see the contact's details. So you'll see their name, you'll see what you're able to mark them as a lead or not a lead, depending on what they're marked as. To see their contacts and all of their details down through here. So you can click this pencil right here, and you can edit any of those fields that we just went through when we were creating. You can click these three dots, we can add them directly to a smart plan. If we're on a team, we can change the account that this contact is worked in, so we can move it from our personal to our team account. Or we can archive the contact completely from here. And we'll come back to the contact archive in a little bit. Moving down, we have the option to add a neighborhood to this contact. So this is great for neighborhood nurtures and things like that. So we can go through and we can search for a neighborhood. Trying to find one through here. I'll just go this one. It's the first one I could come up with. And you'll see those pop up through here. You can mark it. If you have their address in here, it will likely pull up their primary is going to be the one that their address is located in. So it'll be what their actual address is in. So we don't have an address on this contact, or it would show it right here. But you're able to add a bunch of different neighborhoods in here, and all of them are going to show on the neighborhood nurture. They're not going to get an additional email for each neighborhood nurture. It'll just be one neighborhood nurture or for all of the neighborhoods altogether. So scrolling down, we're going to see the additional contact information we added in here. And then right here, this is where we can see the relationships that we added. And if we click on this, it's going to take us directly to our other contact that we were just, that we linked. And you'll see down here, it's also linked right here. Okay, so if we go back over to our contacts, we're going to go back. I think this is the one I just did. So once we're back in our contact, on the right-hand side, you're going to see the timeline. So that's going to show all of the events on their timeline. So we'll be able to see more as we maybe send emails through command or add them to a smart plan, start an opportunity with them. All of those different things you'll be able to see populate in here. There's going to be an AI summary that appears when you have 5 events on their timeline. You can go and you can add activities if maybe you've sent them an email that's not synced to command, that's not through command. Maybe you've called to them, so you can say add an activity and select the type right here. You can go through and you can say what the interaction was. We'll say no answer. You do have to add a note. We'll just say that, and we can say add activity, and we'll see right there. And then we kind of know what happened with this contact, and that maybe we actually want to call them back since they don't have voicemail set up and there was no answer, things like that. So you'll be able to add all of those activities here. Next, we have the option to go to the opportunities. And we can see all of the opportunities that are currently linked to this contact. We can create an opportunity directly through here. I'm not going to walk you through that right now. We do have our opportunities overview class, which I believe is actually this Friday. So you're more than welcome to join us then, and we'll show you how to do that as well. So you can add opportunities through here or see any that they have been added to, any smart plans that they are on, and you can again add them directly to the smart plan. Tasks, you can create tasks through here that are linked to the contact. The tasks applet is kind of like a to-do list. I do want to say I see a bunch of questions coming in. I will definitely get to those. I'll probably circle back at the end of class, just because it looks like a few of them are more in depth. So not ignoring you, I do see it. I'll definitely get those answered for you. But you can create tasks right through here. You can add any notes you want to. So if you want to add a title and a description here. You can say add note, and you'll see it appear right here with that title and that note we added. We can edit it or delete it as we'd like. And then saved searches. So you'll have the ability to create a saved search through here. You can go through and set up their preferences. Again, we do actually have a tip video for this as well, I believe. So you can definitely check this out, but you can go through and set up those saved searches and have it email them automatically. Down below over here, you'll be able to see the map. I meant to say this earlier as well. But you'll be able to see the map with the neighborhoods through here. You can click on this preview. I'm going to open it in a new tab. And if you click on the preview, that's going to be the neighborhood view that you have right here. One thing I do want to point out is that this actually is just unbranded kw.com to that neighborhood. So if you want it branded to you, you actually do have the option to go in here and edit that and add your subdomain right in there. I'll just add ours. And then once you hit enter, you're going to see it's going to change to your font, branded to you, things like that. And then you can grab this link and share it with clients directly, contacts directly, without it being not branded to you. So yeah, see, they can go through and they can see all of the different things in that neighborhood, the market summary, what locals say about it, market snapshot, properties in that neighborhood, and things like that. So there's a bunch of options within neighborhoods that you can take a look at and share with your clients. We're going to go back over to our contacts. And here we have the option to organize our contacts. So we have filters. If you're familiar with Command, there's basically filters for everything. It's actually one of my favorite things about Command is that there are a bunch of options for filtering. If you click here, you're going to see them appear right here. So you'll see you can filter by contact type. I'm going to minimize these so you can see all the options we have here. Contact type, tags, lead source, agent site connection, neighborhoods, recently active, created, modified, last contacted. So you can go through and you can filter by any of these things. So if we want to only show, currently we have it showing only tags with, or only contacts with this tag. We can either remove it or we can add in additional tags if we want. There's also advanced editing or advanced filtering up here. So if you click advanced, you'll be able to say, for example, since I see this right here, we'll say maybe we want it to include all of our contacts with this tag, but we want to exclude any contacts that have this testing 1, 2, 3 tag. So we'll just say add filter, and we'll go through and find the one we want. We'll say tags, and then we'll say it excludes any that have testing 1, 2, 3. And then we'll go through and we'll apply that, and we'll see it change the number of contacts that show here, and we'll see that contact that had the testing 1, 2, 3 tag is no longer visible here through this. So we can go around, we can play with the filters as much as we'd like, and we can switch back to basic filters. It will remove any advanced filters we have. You can add a bunch of different filters in here. So Feel free to play around with those. We have what's called a smart view. So a smart view is basically setting a default view that will have you view your contacts exactly how you want it each time. So for example, if you know that you want, maybe you're working your way through a list of contacts, they all have a certain tag, and you're working your way through that list. And you want to be able to return to that list at any time without having to go through and add your filters once again. You can create what's called a smart view. So if you click this drop-down menu, you have the option to create a smart view or view all of your other smart views right here. And smart views can include changes such as filtering by first name or last name, sorting it in that order, your filters, the columns you have in place. So if you click this button right here, it's going to show you all of the column options you have to appear on here. So maybe we want their favorite candy to show up. And if we scroll over, see it appear down at the very end, we can drag and drop it all the way up to the top. We can expand that if we want. So we have options in here and we can drag and drop them around however we'd like. And then if we save it as a smart view, we'll be able to go back to that. So we'll say smart view. And then you'll see that. We'll go here and we'll say save changes. There, it should be updated. So then we can go over here to our class demo and it's going to change the order everything was in, how we had it filtered and things like that. But we can come back over here and we'll see it appears again exactly how we had it last time. So smart views are super helpful for you to be able to find those specific contacts and figure out where everything is and things like that. We'll go back here to our class demo 1. You have the option to search contacts. You can search by all of these things. So first names, last names, email addresses, or just their mailing address. So if you maybe know what street they purchased off of, you can go through and you can enter their address. I don't know if we have one in here. There we go. If I say Maine, that's going to be their address, which isn't one of the columns we have right here. We'll go primary address. And there we go. You can see it right there. It has Main Street right there. So you'll see you can search by any of those, and you can change what you're searching by. Does not matter. However you remember your contacts. So then we have the option to select multiple contacts at a time. So you can click this box at the top to select all of the ones in your current view. You can change the number of contacts you can view at a time to be up to 500. And that's another thing that can be affected by your smart view, where you can set it so that it will always show 500 right there. So you can go through and you can select multiple contacts. I do see a question in the chat, how do you delete or bulk delete contacts? So first you do have to archive all of your contacts. So if you select multiple ones, we do see this bulk action menu appear at the bottom. We can deselect or reselect as many as we'd like. And then we have all of these options across the bottom, and then you'll archive it right here. And I'm actually going to show you where you can find your contact archive in just a couple of minutes. But first step would be to archive those contacts. So you'll just go here, you would click archive. And I don't want to archive all of these, so I'm not going to do that just yet, but I can definitely show you where the archive is. So to do it in bulk, you'll do it that way. If you're inside the contact, you're going to click the 3 dots right here and click archive within the contact. So if you want to do it individually, you can do it from within the contact card, or to do it in bulk, you'll just select multiple and that bulk action menu will appear. You have a bunch of things that you can do, a bunch of actions that you can take in bulk. So you can add tags to all of these contacts. You can add all of them to a smart plan, add a note, send an email, again, archive them. More options, you can add activities, change the account, export mailing labels, and things like that. So there's a bunch of options in here that you can go through and do in bulk. Another thing I want to talk about is exporting your contacts. So to export your contacts, there's one thing you actually want to check first before you export it, and that's going to be your KW Communications email. So when you do click the three dots and you click this button right here, or any of them actually, any of the export options are going to send a link to your KW Communications email. I'm going to go back to the home just so we're starting in a familiar place. But you can click this drop-down menu under your name and go to My Profile. And under My KW on the left-hand side, you're going to see your KW Communications email right here. And that is where you received all of your official KW communications, which is important when you are exporting contacts. So again, when you click Export Contacts, it's going to send it as an email to whatever email you have right here. So make sure you have access to that email. And then you'll be able to do that. We'll go back over to our contacts. I'll walk you through it there. So when you're in your contacts, you'll click these three dots right here and say export all owned contacts. It'll tell you your export's being processed. So then you can refresh your page. It might take a few minutes depending on how many contacts you have. But then you'll click this notification bell. You see it just went up. And then it'll tell us our contact export is complete. An export link was just sent to your KW Communications email. So then you'll get an email at your KW Communications email saying that your file is ready for export. It'll have a link in it. You'll click on that. It will automatically download for you. So that link does expire in 24 hours. So you do need to make sure that you go grab it once you do export those contacts. You have the option to re-export them later on if maybe you don't get to it in time. But yeah. Alrighty. So then we're going to look over how to check for duplicates. So if you have multiple contacts in here, maybe they have the same name, or things like that, you can click these three dots right here and click check for duplicates. It's going to tell us it's scanning for duplicates. It can take several minutes. Again, they'll notify us when it's ready. We don't have a lot of contacts, so I'm going to go ahead and refresh it. And we have a new notification saying that the database scan was completed and we have 3 pairs of potential duplicates to review. So if we click review duplicates, it's going to take us over to our settings where we'll be able to see those duplicate options we have, and we can either ignore the duplicates or we can merge them. So it's pulling based off of the first name. Usually if they share the same name, email address, or phone number, since they can't share the same primary email address or phone number, it's likely pulling from our names here, which we can see it pulls in here. So we have the option to ignore them if we'd like. So we'll say ignore, or we can merge them, and it's going to tell us which ones we should keep. So this one is currently connected to either an agent site, SmartPlane, or an opportunity, and so it can't be merged into this one. So all of this information would need to be merged over here. So we can say continue, and it's going to tell us what the contact will look like. We'll say merge and delete the duplicate. We can do the same process here. And this one, it lets us choose which one we are keeping as our primary. So we'll keep this one as our primary, and then we're able to merge those over. So we can say continue, and again, it'll show us what it now looks like, and we'll say merge and delete. So if we go back to our contacts, we'll see those are merged. I ignored this one, and then the other one's all merged just fine through there. So we're able to see that. I currently have it filtered, so it probably didn't show it that way, but the number didn't change. But anyway, so next I want to show you how you can look at your basically the back office command settings. So there's a bunch of different contact settings. So what we want to do is we want to click our name in the drop-down menu, and we're going to navigate over to settings. Under settings, we're going to click command settings on the left-hand side, and the contacts applet is one we'll want to select. And then we have options through here. So we have our contact archive right here that we were talking about earlier. So once it has been, once the contacts have been archived, they're going to show up right here. And then you'd be able to select the contact and either archive and delete it or restore from here. I'm actually going to go choose one to archive so I can show you what it looks like. We'll go with well, this one. It doesn't really matter which one I pick. You do that. We'll just archive it right here. Yes, I want to archive it. And I'm going to go back. We can click view archive, or we can go back through our settings. command settings, and then our contact archive. And you'll see it right here, and we have the option to either restore it or delete it. And again, we have a bulk action menu, so we can select all of them and restore all of them or delete all of them, whatever we want. I'm going to go ahead and restore that. But if you did want to delete it, just hit that trash can button and it's going to delete it permanently for you. Once you take an action on it, you usually have to refresh it. So then moving down, we have our database wipe option. And you have the option to archive all of your contacts or delete all of your archived contacts. We strongly recommend that you be absolutely certain you want to do either of these options, just because once you delete all of your archived contacts, there is no option to restore them. They are going to be lost. So you do want to make sure that you're absolutely certain. We really recommend exporting a contact or a copy of your contacts before you do any deleting and archiving in case you need that information. So just something to keep in mind. Contact tags right here. We can create tags and we can edit them or delete them. If they were created by the system, we're not able to edit or delete them. But if we created them, we can go through and edit them or delete them here. We can also create new tags in here. Same process we walked through earlier when we were looking at creating individual contacts and creating the tags on those contacts. Next, we have lead management. So we can create lead management rules through here. We actually have a class that walks you through this whole process, more than I have time for today. It's going to be our command automations class, I believe is the name of the class. So you'll be able to follow along with that when we walk you through doing this more. But basically, when a lead comes in from a site, such as your website, or you have maybe your Facebook ads or something like that set up, you can have it go ahead and add the lead source, add them directly to a smart plan, or auto tag them, whatever you'd like. Lead sources, same thing. We can go through and create custom sources. We can edit or delete existing ones, except the ones created by the system. So we're not able to change those, but any that we created, we would be able to edit or delete. Database cleanup, this is going to be our where we were looking at our duplicates earlier. So when we checked for duplicates, we went straight from the notification bell, but you can also come to your settings and go to the database cleanup tab. And you can check for duplicates directly through here. You can go to your contacts. You can see your merge history. So we'll see right here, these are all the contacts we merged together, and it has the date we merged them. So these were the ones we did today. We did these ones before. So you can go through. And then finally, we have our custom fields right here. And these are the ones we just created. So we can go through, we can edit or delete them through here, or create more custom fields. We have a bunch of options in here. And then finally, we have my logs down at the bottom, and you'll see imports. You can see it right here. So you can see this is the import we just did, actually both of them. You'll see how many contacts were imported, how many failed, and the total number of contacts on that spreadsheet for both of those. If you scroll all the way to the right, you'll be able to download the original file and also the error file where you can see what imported, what failed to import, and why, like we covered earlier. And our exports down here, you'll see the export status when it was started, completed, the number of exported contacts, and the type of export. So you'll see with the status here whether it was completed or failed or anything like that. That is all I have for today. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and get to the questions in the chat. If you have more questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. If you're not sticking around for questions, thank you for joining me. Hope this was helpful for you. And I hope you have a fantastic day and rest of your week.